Hello, welcome back to a nice educational video that my friend David Moyer from Keller Williams Advisors and myself, we like to put these out for our clients and for prospective clients and for people just trying to educate themselves when it comes to owning a home. And today we thought it would be a really good topic to talk about why is your payment going up after you bought the house, maybe a year later. All of a sudden, you get some sort of notification in the mail saying, your payment's now going to be X, which could be $50 more, which could be $100 more. And, you've spent so much time when you were buying the home making sure the payment was perfect for you and your family. And so, something that David and I like to go over with our clients are the reason that happens. And David, take it from there. What is the reason why their payment goes up?
Yeah, I mean it happens a lot. This is definitely not something that I think we talk about to scare anybody. It's not anything that's like super dramatic, but properties are typically assessed by the county auditor and they determine the
Mhm.
tax rate. So, right? So the value of the home and the tax value of the home are two different things. And based off that tax rate, that's how they determine what the ta property taxes are. There's a mill rate for that, and they determine what the property taxes are. And what happens is about every 2 years, give or take, the county auditor goes through and they do this huge sweep of the entire county. They look for changes, they look for updated values. If all of a sudden there's a neighborhood where all these homes have sold for a lot more than they ever have, they do a reassessment. And then they actually will put out the new tax values for your property. And there's also levies too. So you have school levies. Now, you hear about them all the time. I definitely encourage people to vote on those levies. Everybody has their own opinions on that, so I'm not here to talk about that. I will say that school systems are one of the biggest driving factors in the value of your property. So it is good to support your schools where you live, even if you don't have kids. But if after 2 years they do a reassessment, and let's say your annual taxes on the property are $4,000, and all of a sudden they're like, well, your property values have gone up. So now your annual tax rate is, it could be something as simple as $4,300 now. So now you got $300 extra that has to be paid per year. So when the escrow account that you have with your lender pays that out every 6 months, when that assessment comes out, they're going to continue to make that payment and everything, and then they're going to be short. And they're going to call you, they're going to email you, they're going to notify you, hey, your escrow account is short. It's short $300 because the taxes went up. Here are your options. Do you want to send us a check for $300 and we'll go ahead and pay it and your payment will stay the same right now or change ever so slightly? Or do you want us to roll that into future payments in addition to what is going to be the new tax rate, and just bump your payment up? So, for that $300 example, that's oh, math. That's, for $40 a month. No, that's not right. $30 a month.
$25.
Thank you. $25 a month. And so they'll say, we just bump your payment up $25 a month and you're good to go. And so that's just what you do. And another instance could also be, and this is a big one right now too, is homeowners insurance. So I went through this last year. I had a ridiculously low rate on my homeowners insurance, and it kind of caught up with me. There's a lot of things happen, a lot of natural disasters. And so insurance rates have to go up to support those values. And so it went up by about $300, $400 for the year.
Okay.
And so that automatically meant that my payment was now going to be slightly higher for the next year to cover
34
that.
extra dollars in your payment. Yes.
So, it's a fact of life. It's just it's what happens when property taxes go up and when the insurance goes up. It's reflected in your monthly payment because your lender is going to make sure that your property is always insured and that your property is always up to the other taxes. And the escrow account is what helps make that possible. So, alternatively, we talked about this ever so briefly, but if you're building new construction, and this is the one that I think a lot of people don't think about up front, and if they're not working with the right lender or the right builder that it prepares them for this, it can be a bit of a blow. But when you build a property, brand new construction, that tax appraised value on that is just the land. And so I'm dealing with a property right now that's about 5 acres, and someone may want to build about a $700,000 house on there, but the annual tax rate on that 7 acres or 5 acres out in the middle of the country is $400 a year. And so what's going to happen is they're going to build that house, and the auditor may not get around to looking at that house for a year. And so for a year, their payment is going to reflect, $300, $400 a year on their taxes. And then all of a sudden, the county auditor is going to say, okay, well, we did the assessment. You got a beautiful house. This is all great. Your annual tax rate for your home is $5,000 a year, right? And that's typical. That's average.
So
So
that's
now,
an additional $400 in your payment. So the
yeah,
400 that it was per year was just $33. So you're going from 33 to 400 extra in your payment.
yeah,
And people think it's your payment, but really it's the taxes and insurance
it's the
that
taxes.
fluctuate. Your payment doesn't change. The taxes and insurance that are included in your payment change, right?
Yeah, yeah. So and it's good to know if you're working with a builder in that circumstance, finding out, or your realtor, finding out what the mill rate is based off of what the property is going to be. Look at other properties that have been built around the area and have been there for a year or so. What are their taxes?
Right.
Because yours are probably going to be very, very similar,
Hmm.
and building those in. Now, 9 times out of 10, your realtor should look out for you and make sure you're taken care of and you know what those are going to be. Your lender is going to take care of that for you and tell you what you should expect in a year or so. And a lot of times they'll even say, you know what, we're going to build up your escrow account even though the tax rate's not there so that you don't feel any sort of impact in a year or two. Um, and go from there. But if you're not getting that guidance from someone like me or Jessica, then you're in for a little bit of a rude awakening in 18
Yeah.
months.
I have found that there are people that don't discuss this,
Mm,
especially on a new build. Um, the increase is high, right? It
yeah.
is shocking, and the clients do need to be prepared. So going to $400 extra in your payment, and if that's not discussed, at the stage a year prior with somebody like David or myself, and, sometimes when I'm the lender giving that bad news, and yet perhaps the builder's lender isn't disclosing that because they're just trying to get the deal done. And sometimes things aren't discussed, all details aren't discussed.
Mhm.
And, consumers don't want to hear that, oh, and by the way, your payment's going to be $400 more. In the
Yeah.
long run, this is the right thing to do to be transparent and prepare clients for all things. But there are people out there that don't do that.
Yeah, and this can also happen on the resale side of things. Let's say that somebody is in a property that needs a little bit of work. Maybe you're a buyer that's looking for a resale property because you want to put this sweat equity in. You want to buy something at a good rate and do all of this. And maybe that home hasn't been sold for 20 or 30 years. That
Mhm.
tax rate may be really, really low. And so what's going to happen is you're going to build that deck. You're going to file for the permits because you're going to remodel the kitchen. You're going to remodel and finish the basement. You're going to do
Yeah.
all these things. Those permits are going to send out a beacon to the auditor and say, they're doing a lot of improvements to this property.
We got some more taxes here.
Exactly. They're going to get those taxes. Listen, you can't hide. But the one thing you can do is if you feel that the auditor has overestimated the value and they've gone in and they've assessed your property and you're like, whoa, there's no way. My friend next door has the exact same house as me and their tax rate is not this. You can contest that. There's a period of time, if you just close on a property or annually, that the auditor will allow you to contest the value. And you can work with the realtor, you can work with an appraiser, and you can go out there and you can say, listen, thanks for reassessing my property. Thanks for that extra value. But this is what I really feel is fair. And the auditor is going to be fair with you too. They're going to review your case. They're going to review these comps. They're going to look at everything and go, you know what? Yeah, maybe we did bump this up a little bit higher. So we're gonna bring that down ever so slightly. So you can do that. You're not completely just, out in the field by yourself. You can definitely contest those things if you feel it was maybe a little overzealous of the
Is
auditor.
that a lot of work to do, or is that just like a form that you file and do they have a turn time?
It can vary by county. So you start with the form to file your petition, and then there's a gathering of information. A lot of times they'll have, I know in Montgomery County, I believe they have a certain time frame where they're like hearings, but they're not hearings, but they're going to go through each one bit by bit. You can show up and whatever you want to do. So no, they're not a ton of work. It is a little bit of paperwork and filing. But the people at the auditor's office are used to people calling all the time. If you want to make it super simple, just go to the auditor's office and they'll walk you through it. Sometimes that's easier than trying to do everything online. But you can do it for sure. And
Okay.
with the insurance, I know that you do this a lot with clients when they're buying and refinancing. You're always reevaluating the insurance. It's a great idea to get with your insurance agent every single year if you see your rates going up and be like, why is my rate going up? Can we look at a different provider?
Yep.
And reevaluate that. And you can. I mean, I switched insurance agents or companies like 3 or 4 times because this insurance agent A will all of a sudden raise my rate $300 a year, and I'll say, well, can we switch from this company to this company? And they'll go, yeah, you can save $300 if you do that. I go, great. And so we switch when it's time to renew, and that helps my payment.
Well, and you're a exemplary client to ensure.
I'm very on top of it. I probably annoy my insurance agent more than anything because I'm like, oh, listen, I can do all my own research, and I've got all these clients that are telling me about their rates and everything. So I know what I'm talking about when I call you.
That's right. And actually, you do take care of your house, right? You're a real estate agent, very knowledgeable. You take care of
Yeah.
that house.
Yeah.
Well, great. That's an awesome topic. So if you're wondering why your payment has gone up and you want any further details on this, please reach out to David or myself. We're happy to give you the information that you need. So thanks again, David, for your time. You're always a joy to have.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.